Hello and welcome back to the Health and Harmony Girls podcast.
Welcome back.
Welcome. We are still in the self-care series, and today we are jumping into your personal or mental self-care rituals, routines, things to do. And we were just chatting now before. It's so important. I think this is such an important one because it's basically the things you do that help you to know who you are. And I think that's like the most existential question you can ask yourself is, who am I? Like, ask yourself now, who am I? And how do you answer that? This is something me and Hubby also have been talking about a lot lately, because a lot of people define themselves by their job, their partner, their kids, whatever it may be. But if you take all of that away, who are you? So we're going to dive a little bit into the things you can start including in your self-care routine that will help you to figure out who you are.
And I think it's such, like you say, it's such an important question to ask yourself, who am I? And it does seem woohoo, like we use that word all the time. But like Rox was saying, it's become so easy to be like, oh, who am I? I'm a teacher, I'm a mom, I'm a student, I'm a whatever you are that you define yourself as, by whether, like Rox said, it's business or it's your children or it's whatever you do on the daily. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a job and if you're not doing the hobbies that you enjoy, who are you as a person? And I think it becomes really difficult for a lot of people to answer that question if you take away everything that you do in your daily life. So yeah, these are just some tips and tricks, like we said, with everything else that will help you in building your personal or mental self-care.
Definitely. And I love what you said there, because it made me think about like your top athletes when they get injured and they can no longer do what they are doing. They tend to go off the rails because they have lost their identity. They've defined themselves by being a sportsman or whatever it may be. And now that that's been taken away from them, they sit with this question. Now, who am I? What is my purpose? What am I going to do with the rest of my days? So we're going to give you some things to connect with yourself and start to learn about who you truly are on a soul level. So the first thing is hobbies. And I love this because I always preach about having fun in everything that you do. But hobbies is such a good way to connect back with yourself, to give yourself time to have fun and do the things that you find bring you fun. So for me, I recently, well, not recently, it's probably been a year now, but paint by numbers is something that I started doing just to tap more into my creative side, because I've always wanted to be able to paint or draw or whatever. And it's not really a skill of mine. And paint by numbers kind of is a cheaty way to paint, but it's just been such a beautiful journey for me to have fun and to tap into my creative side and to set aside time for myself where I do something that I want to do by myself with no interruptions. So start to think about maybe something that you've always wanted to do, and then start doing that. I think we all have an excuse. Oh, I'll do it when I have more time, or I'll do it in the new year, or I'll do it whatever your excuse is. But there's no time like the present. And why not start a hobby now that will bring you joy, that will bring you happiness, fulfillment, all the good stuff?
And I think it's also, now that you're talking about starting a hobby today, I was just thinking it also boils down to letting yourself not be put first, right? So a lot of people put off hobbies or put off doing things that they enjoy because there's other important things that they have to do, or they have to do things for other people rather than doing things for themselves. And do you know how great it will be, like with Rox now, to look back and be like, my gosh, I've been painting by numbers for a year now. And if you are practicing your hobby, is a massive chance that you're probably getting better at it too. And your hobby is something that you should be passionate about and you should enjoy. So getting better at it is also exciting. And even if you don't get better at it, just enjoying what you do and having that time to yourself is so important, because like you said earlier about the sports people, that's what makes me think about hobbies. And a lot of people, yes, their hobbies become their careers, but at the same time, when that's taken away from you, like Rox was saying, with, for instance, the NFL football players, right? Don't ask me why I went to NFL if we live in South Africa and we do not even have that sport here. But these people get their hobby or livelihood or whatever they define themselves by taken away from them. And then it becomes hard for you to be like, well, who am I? I don't really have anything else. So you do need to incorporate hobbies into your life. It's something that brings you joy, something that gives you peace, something that gives you an hour or 30 minutes or 15 minutes in a day or in a week where you can completely be on your own and work on your personal and mental development and do the things that make you happy.
Definitely. I think there's also such a mental block of doing hobbies because we've been conditioned to believe that we need to spend time on doing stuff that's going to like bring some kind of a financial gain into our lives. And it's so crazy because no, your hobby is not necessarily going to bring in any money, but it's going to bring in extra joy, extra happiness, and money can't buy those things. So really just setting aside, even if it's 10 minutes a day in the beginning, doing something that enjoys you, that you enjoy. Like for me, even reading was something I spent my entire life always wishing that I could be one of those people who reads books. And during lockdown last year, the heavy lockdown, I took books with me to where we went for that 5-week period, and I read every single book. And since then it's just become part of my morning routine, and I can look back now and be like, I am that person who reads a book a month, or even more than a book a month. So I've surpassed that. But I mean, all it takes is the decision to start today, and you'll look back a month from now, a year from now, and be so happy that you did, because it's brought you so much fulfillment and lessons and excitement and happiness.
I actually just thought now, just to give you one more thing to think about when it comes to hobbies, but we are speaking from a place where we know what we enjoy, what our hobbies are, and assuming other people have hobbies. But I've also seen interviews with people throughout my life, or you see people get asked questions at a lunch table or whatever it is. Some people don't have an answer if you ask them, what are your hobbies? People don't have hobbies, or they don't do what makes them happy. It's so important, if you don't know what your hobbies are, to sit down and be like, what do I enjoy doing? And to work from there. You enjoy being creative, great. Try out different creative realms. Try painting or music or dancing or whatever that is under that spectrum, and find what works for you. And it is, like I said, so important to have a hobby. So please, if you're sitting here right now and thinking, you know what, I don't actually know what I enjoy doing, like that's a good point for you to start at and find what you do like doing.
I love that you brought that up, because like I feel like then you should become a yes man and just try everything, because how many times have you done something that you really didn't think you're going to enjoy and you absolutely loved it? So even trying things that you probably think will not be for you can be a really cool way to find new hobbies, because you might actually enjoy, like land up really enjoying it.
You might surprise yourself. Okay, the second point is knowing yourself. So I think this can be also quite a broad topic, but like we were saying earlier, knowing yourself and being able to dive into those deeper questions with yourself, of asking yourself who you are. Like, what are the things that make you happy? What are the things that make you sad? How do you deal with your emotions? All of these aspects of your personality or of who you are yourself are important to know. And I think it always brings me back to the point, and we've spoken about this before, but and it might be not even like the same thing, but if somebody asks you, or somebody says to me, oh, you know, Rox is so stubborn, like, you can literally claim that you are stubborn because you know that you are stubborn. So if you claim all the things that you are and know yourself, it becomes so much easier for you to deflect negativity from other people that are pointing out your flaws, if you know what your good and bad things are about yourself entirely. So I think that's so important, to know yourself in order to have that mental self-care.
Yes, yeah. And I think actually it's so crazy, because I was doing something the other day, and the one exercise was to start dating yourself. And we spoke about this in the financial episode about dating your bank account, but just start to get curious about yourself. Like the one example they used was, let's say you've used Colgate toothpaste your entire life because your mom bought Colgate toothpaste your entire life. Start to question these things, like, why do I like using Colgate? Is it because I like Colgate and I've tried the other ones and they're not the same? Or is it because I've always tried Colgate? Maybe I should actually try trying other toothpaste brands. And I mean, that's such a simple one, but it's an easy way to start becoming aware of the things that you do, and actually just questioning all the things that you do. Like, why do I drive the specific routes whenever I go to the shops. You know,
Literally,
there's so
do I
many
like
different
it?
things.
Mm-hmm.
And then also another really good way to get to know yourself is to do shadow work. And it's not the most fun, but really looking at things that trigger you and be like, why does this certain thing or the way this certain person is around me make me so angry? Because chances are deep down inside, there's a part of you that is similar to that. And that's such a good way to get to know yourself, is just looking in the mirror and being like, why does this trigger me? Why do I have these toxic patterns in my life? Why do I keep making decisions that lead me to self-sabotage? And these can really help you to become a better version of yourself, because you are now aware of these bad patterns, these bad behaviors, these bad characteristics that you have, and sort them out so that you don't carry them on through into your future self.
And I think it's also, as you carry those things on, yes, you get better and better, and there will be a day where it dissipates. But at the same time, knowing yourself, like Rox was saying, if you know what your reactions are going to be to certain people, if you know how certain places or people make you feel, if you know that you get anxiety before you go and visit a specific family member or friend, just knowing yourself in all of these aspects will make it very easy for you to be able to avoid feeling those feelings, or to be able to work through those feelings easier. If, for instance, you know yourself, you don't like going to a specific person's house, you can avoid going because you know how that makes you feel, or you can go for 2 hours and say you've got something else afterwards. Just being able to know yourself so that you don't put yourself into a position where you are uncomfortable or unhappy. I was trying to think of another word, but unhappy.
And the vocab is limited.
Yeah.
Okay, the next point is brain and memory health, and I think this is so important. It was something I learned a few years ago, but basically the reason, and let's start with this, age is just a number, but the reason that people get old, and I say that in inverted commas, is because they stop training their brain. And I always say the brain is like a muscle, and I say like a muscle because I know it's not a muscle. But if you stop using your mind, it's going to naturally deteriorate. And that creates aging and dementia and Alzheimer's. Obviously, those are genetic, but like memory loss, all these things, because you're not using your mind anymore. So starting today, maybe find something that you can do that will increase your brain activity, whether it's playing cards, or you get those memory games on your phone, or even reading or learning something that really keeps your mind active. And I promise you, down the line, you're going to be so happy that you started today, because you're going to be that 75-year-old that is holding a conversation like a 25-year-old.
No one's business.
With all the wisdom on top of that.
Literally. I love that. And it's so important to make sure that, like we say, you're doing the work mentally, spiritually, emotionally, but also just to know, like, your brain is so important, and your brain is one of the biggest reasons, like Rock said, that you can get old, and why a lot of people do get old. And I fully agree with you that it is like a muscle. It's not a muscle, guys, we know. But if you just take into account, like every time Rock says that to me, I always just think about if someone goes and breaks their leg or breaks their arm, and you wear a cast for however long you wear a cast for. I mean, it's only really a few weeks, a few months, if that. And by the time you take that cast off, your skin is like fraught, your arm's not working properly, like the muscles almost have to relearn to work again. And that's from a few weeks or a few months of wearing a cast. So if you spend years or periods of your life where you are not learning or not doing things to make your mind stronger or your brain, it is going to make you age a lot sooner. Point taken. Okay, the next one is learning. So new skills, knowledge. I think, like we just said, that pretty much ties in with what we were saying about your memory. So let's go on to the next one. Reading, brain games, short courses, documentaries. So documentaries, I love that that's a point, because I think that is a super fun way to stay knowledgeable, to stay educated, to stay learning, but also to have the knowledge on the topics that are interesting to you. So it's one thing, yes, okay, we all wish we knew everything about every topic in the world, but if there's stuff that you want to learn about, that you're passionate about, watch documentaries about that, because more often than not, I can promise you, after watching one that you're interested in, you're going to want to watch another one. And then Ryan and I go through phases like that, where we'll watch a documentary and we loved it so much that we'll literally look for all the documentaries on Netflix, DSTV, everything, and then we like watch them all, and then there's none left. So documentaries are a great way to stay on top of things. And like I said, to just train your brain when it comes to things that you enjoy or are interested about.
I'm a huge fan of documentaries, and I never thought I'd say that, but I think the trick is like what you said, to watch documentaries on things that interest you. Like hubby loves history, but if I had to watch a documentary on history, it probably wouldn't be my favorite, but like nature and the psyche, you got me. I mean, we actually watched a documentary on mushrooms called Fantastical Fungi, and it was incredible. Like, you think you know stuff, and then you watch a documentary, like, how have I spent my whole life not knowing that without fungi and mushrooms, nothing would be able to decompose?
We watched, and okay, this is going a bit off topic now, but I'm like, that's the point of our podcast. We watched a thing the other day of David Attenborough, and it was about flamingos, guys. And I swear to God, I did not know that flamingos' feathers are not pink. They become pink from what they eat.
Yes,
the algae is red, and that's what makes their fur pink. Well, their feathers pink, and if they don't have pink feathers, they can't do the mating dance. If they have the white feathers, they get kicked out. They have to eat more algae so that the next year they can be part of the dance. So, guys, that's something I learned. So you can learn lots of things from documentaries, but also to touch on that point, I know for a fact Rox always speaks about short courses. Like this point is reading, brain game, short courses, documentaries. Like I think Rox is the poster person for short courses.
Yeah, I think like we're in a time now where short courses are so affordable and available to us. You don't have to go to a university, and you don't have to get good grades to be able to get in a course or have prerequisites to be able to do this. Like, go on Udemy. There's so many, and Udemy is just the one that I know, but there's so many places where you can do short courses. If you are interested in astrology, go do a short course on astrology, because it's like $200 to see if it actually is something that interests you, and it might spark this like passion and desire within you to learn more. Or you might be like, well, I'm glad I didn't waste my money on like a full year, like 20,000 Rand course, because it's actually not what I thought it was. So it's a really nice way to, again, play with things to see if it's something that you enjoy, to see if it's maybe a path that you can take, a hobby you can start, even a new career angle that you can like add to your life, and just learn new stuff and train that brain in the process. I think
that's the best part about this whole personal mental self-care, is that the more you do with all of these points, with your hobbies, with knowing yourself, with trying to educate yourself with short courses, all that type of stuff, a lot of the time, like Rox said, we are in a day and age where knowledge is so easily accessible to all of us. And I think the way people work has changed so much, even if it's just within the last few years from COVID. I mean, before that, working had already changed, but COVID has changed everything. And I think a lot of people, in taking all of these aspects and knowing their hobbies, knowing themselves, trying to learn these little things throughout COVID, have actually turned their passions and hobbies into their now careers. And it doesn't take you having to be in your 20s or having to be in your teens. There are people in their 40s, 50s, 60s that have changed their career throughout this period of time, because they now know themselves better from being through those lockdown periods, and they know that they don't love what they do anymore. So yeah, that's a cool thing about the short courses.
Preach, girl. Okay, the next thing is personal identity. And I mean, this can go in so many different angles, but the thing that's coming through to me is like really just learning more about the ego versus the soul, because we are unfortunately living in a time where the ego is almost conditioned to run the show. And a lot of people live their lives in a way that they think other people want them to, or the way they want other people to see them as. So you land up living a life that isn't in alignment with your soul and what your soul wants. You're doing things for the money, for their appearances, for the external validation, and you completely lose yourself in this like fake life that you've created. And I think this is where that midlife crisis comes from, when people wake up and realize, why am I doing this? I hate my job. Maybe I hate my wife, or whatever it may be.
It could be anything.
I hate my friends. I hate my house. I hate my country.
I hate myself.
Maybe I hate myself, because I've been living my life for all these external reasons, and my internal is so unhappy. So really just starting to take the time to listen to your soul. And you might be thinking, how the fuck do I do that? start to tap into your intuition. Honestly, your intuition are the whispers from your soul. And we all have intuition. A lot of us just haven't tapped into it because we all operate from the head up. We've completely cut ourselves off from listening to our body, listening to our hearts, listening to guidance and signs from our angels, our guardians, the universe, source, God, whatever you believe in. And these are such beautiful ways for you to really start to figure out who you are on a soul level, just listening. And you can listen to your body. Like I did a workshop last night where we spoke all about this, but it's so important to listen to your body. If you are getting cramps, let's say period cramps, and you just keep popping Nurophens, like you're not really listening to your body. You're just covering up something that your body's probably trying to tell you. And it might not necessarily be that you are going to get your period in the next few days or like whatever it may be. It might be symbolic of something else, that maybe it's trauma that you're holding on to that you maybe need to now like release and process to step into your higher self. So really start to listen to your body, and then really start to tap into your emotions. Your emotions are literally so important. And also, again, with the ego, we tend to bottle them in, pretend they're not there, because we don't want people to see us being angry or sad or depressed or vulnerable or whatever it may be. We cut ourselves off from our emotions as well. So really just start to feel those emotions, because like we've said before, if you don't process and feel your emotions, you store them, and that becomes trauma. So the reason you have trauma is because you haven't dealt with the emotions that were brought up from certain situations. So really just starting to tap into that as well. And then if all else fails, just sit in silence and wait. And I always say, like, people expect your intuition to be these big signs or these angels that come to you in dreams, whatever you think. And it's really not. It might just be a thought that pops into your head, like some idea that comes to you, and it could be something to do with a hobby or like everything that we've spoken about up until now. Listen to those. It's not this like big monumentous occasion where you're like forced to pay attention. It, like I said, your intuition is the whisper of your soul. So you really have to be present and be aware of how your body, your heart, and your guides or whatever are communicating with you, because it could be as subtle as a cramp or and a little idea that comes into your head.
And I think it's also like, with regard, like you were saying earlier, with your personal identity, you live your life doing what your parents want you to do, what your teachers want you to do, what your friends want you to do, and eventually you reach a point. And the only reason I'm actually going to use this example is because it's what I'm currently going through right now. But for instance, becoming a mother, right, can be a very big thing for a lot of people. Well, it is a big thing for everybody, but I think a lot of people feel that becoming a mother is now your identity. So you are a mom and you provide for your children and you do everything in your power, which is normal, to make sure your kids have a great life or to give them whatever you can. But you also reach a point eventually where your kids are old enough to leave home or to go to varsity or to go and do whatever they need to do. And then you get parents that are sitting there in their 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, however old they are, going, right, my kids are gone now, who the fuck am I? Like, what have I done for myself? And I try to take into every day that I do everything in my power that I possibly can for my child, but I also need to do something for myself, because I don't want to reach the age of 40 where I turn around and go like, I've just let the last 20 something years slide out of my life and I've done nothing for myself. So I am no way saying disregard your duties or disregard the things you need to do. Do them, but don't disregard yourself. That's the point.
That's the point.
And then the last point we have on the personal mental train is honoring your true self. So I think that touches a lot on what Rox was speaking about previously, about tapping into your intuition and also just being able to honor yourself, honor your body, honor the way that you feel. I know it can be very difficult, or it actually can be very easy for us to disregard emotion. And like Rox was saying, to ignore it. And then you get all this built up turmoil that will turn into trauma and will turn into things. I mean, like Rox said, you can go through something and it can turn into physical pain in your body that you think, you know what, I might actually be having a heart attack, but guess what? It actually might be trauma. So it's very important to tap into your true self, honor your true self, honor your emotions. And I always use the example of, if you can't honor your emotions and do what's right for you, how do you expect other people to treat you with that same respect, or to treat you the way you want to be treated if you can't treat yourself that way? So honor the way you're feeling, work through those emotions, work through situations, whatever it is on your daily basis that comes up, try to work through it. I'm not saying it's going to be able to sit at the end of every day and like work through everything, but try to do a little bit of work every single day, and it will make a difference.
Yeah. And I think honoring your true self also goes back to what you were saying about like becoming a mom. Just remembering to touch base with yourself, like have a little meeting, even if it's once a week, hopefully not once a month, but like whenever you can find the time, be like, what do I need? Yes, I'm being the best mother I can. Yes, I'm being the best wife I can. Yes, I'm being the best friend and daughter-in-law and whatever it may be. But what do I need for myself? Do I need to take a day off and go to the spa just so I can really rest and recover? Do I need to start studying something? Because as much as I love looking after babe, I also want to like
do something for
myself and keep my brain going. So really just having that little moment with yourself, tapping in, seeing what you need. If it's more sleep, if it's more coffee.
A lot of people, it could be more sleep. I can tell you that for free.
Whatever it is, and then schedule it in. And I know it sounds, I'm not a mom, so for me, scheduling and stuff is a lot easier than it will be for someone who's got a brand new born baby, but you must have a support system. And we spoke about this in the social episode, but ensuring you have that support so that you can once a month have a day to yourself where you can just do what you want to do, what you need to do in order to stay sane and keep that mental self-care train going.
And also, I think just a last point to touch on, and it was one of the best pieces of information I got when I became a mom, and I think it can go into every aspect of your life. And my mom literally sat me down the one day. I had woken up probably like every hour to feed Bella. I was so exhausted. I was in tears. She was in tears. It was just a nightmare. And my mom said to me, she was like, B, you have to realize, I know you want to do everything yourself, but you have to be in the best mental state yourself so that you can be there for your child. There's no point in you pouring and giving to your child, but you're not there mentally. And it's the same in every other aspect of your life. If you are not at your, and I'm by no means saying you're going to be 100% with your mind all the time, but if you're not functioning at a place that's comfortable for you mentally, you're not able to give of yourself to other people because you are so drained. So take that into account in every aspect of your life. Like Rox says, use those support systems, do what you need to do, but honor yourself, listen to your body, honor your emotions. And yeah, I think if you take a little bit from each of these topics that points that we've covered, you should be able to start to work on your personal mental self-care a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. So I hope this episode just like reinforced the importance of doing the things that make you happy and that bring you joy and maybe bring you some peace of mind, because your mental health is so important. And if, like we said, if you don't give yourself the time to do the things you need in order for you to be at the top of your game mentally, it's going to filter through into everything that you do. So you're basically sabotaging your family, your career, all those other characteristics, categories in your life, because you're not giving back to yourself. So we hope you take something away that you can start doing today. If you did, we'd love to know by commenting on Instagram or popping us a message or whatever it is. And on that note, we are in the middle of our self-care journey. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit slack and forgot to post over the weekend. So it's a bit of an extended one.
Don't look at me. Yeah, I could have done
But
it.
at the same time, you can start whenever you want. We've saved it under a highlight reel. So if you guys are on that journey, we'd love for you to tag us if you are following it, and just so that we can see what you're doing. But yeah, thanks guys for listening.
Thank you for listening.
We love you long.
See you next week.